Over to you, Paro.
Thanks so much, John. Thanks for the kind introduction. And it gives me great pleasure to host this session along with my co-session host for the day, Kelvin.
Morning, everyone.
All right. So good morning, everyone. Yes, Kelvin. And a very warm welcome to day 2 of the annual conference for the Marketing Research Society of Malaysia. So we've been very encouraged with the huge turnout of participants in the conference yesterday. And we see that the participation is going very strong today as well. So we are very encouraged by that. And do please keep the participation going by posting your questions in the chat box as we go with the sessions. And we hope to address them in the Q&A session at the end. So as John has mentioned, we had an action-packed morning yesterday, which covered a wide spectrum of perspectives. So firstly, we had an insightful talk by MDEC based on very hard facts on the economy and industry, and that kind of set the perspective for the day. Followed by Huawei's take on 5G and what it really means to the consumer. After that, we had Geometry talk about the importance of accessing the right insights, while Astro and Domino's came in and spoke about not losing sight of consumer centricity, even while a sharp digital transformation and acceptance was underway. So we had some great sessions yesterday, and we hope to have some great ones today as well. So before I do that, this just reminds me of a quote from the head of platform Google Cloud. Many of you would be acquainted with this eminent name, Mr. Javeri. And he quoted, "I think of digital transformation less as a technology project to be finished, but more like being in a state of perpetual agility, ready to evolve for whatever the customer wants next." So it does kind of point that customer centricity will always remain irrespective of digital transformation. So in day 2, we continue with renewed enthusiasm on this journey of discussion with our experts, of course. So we have for you this morning a lineup of 3 very eminent personalities in their domain of expertise. So we have Owen Lead from the Badminton World Federation and Akbar Khan from Initiative, who will be joining us with their sessions later on in the day. But I have the pleasure of introducing the first speaker of our session today, and she is a trailblazer. She has carved a niche for herself in the era of digital transformation and creating excellent UX. She is the head of strategy and insights at the AirAsia Group and is instrumental in the transformation of AirAsia as an airline brand to the ecosystem of AirAsia.com as it is today. Disha is an expert in market research, straddling roles across FMCG majors such as BAT and F&N, besides her experience on the agency side as well. So ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Disha Bhatnagar on the platform. Over to you, Disha.
Thank you, Paro. Thank you for the warm introduction. Good morning, everybody. I'm really pleasure to be here today, and without wasting too much time, let me go on to the topic. I'm sure it will keep me engaging, and keep putting your questions, and I will try to take them on as the time permits. Allow me to share my screen. Okay, so I'm very excited. I'm happy to present, and I think this is the right moment. It's the most rightest time of the conference to take up discussions, arguments, thoughts, and all our feelings around how the industry is transforming, how the need is to transform is much more than before. So on that, I think the context of my topic today is rebirth of research. How consumer insights during the pandemic is expected to evolve, expected to be fast, and expected to be agile much more than before. Happy to take you all through it. These are some of the thoughts, some of the case studies, and some of the workflow which we live and breathe in AirAsia. So as Paro was mentioning earlier, that AirAsia is really another name for digitization, being fast and being up for the moment. So I'll be just showcasing our journey, what we believe, what we do, and how we take up every project to be keep on pulse of not only customer centricity, but also about technology and digitization. I'm going to take you through. I hope it remains a much more engaging. The key themes of my presentation today will be talking around as research teams, we always have those timelines, challenges of different about the business, about the cost, about the timelines, all the challenges we face. With the onset of pandemic, how the journey has been even more challenging than before. Apart from the challenges, there is always, the flip side. Like most of the people are now mentioning about, don't let a crisis go waste. Always look up the kind of challenges and particularly the opportunities and the learnings we can derive from challenges. I'm going to talk a bit about what us, especially at AirAsia, how we have really, flipped the challenging situation to the opportunities and innovation much faster than before. On that, I will also be touching something which is very close to my heart, and also fortunately, the company I work for, AirAsia, which is all about people. People, marketeer, researcher, digital, the entire ecosystem of us as a resource. How can we be the catalyst to bring the change? Technology is definitely one thing, but we always, especially in AirAsia, we believe technology is always being the tool. The brain will still be the human. The power of people cannot be sidelined and cannot be overlooked. Those are the things which definitely I'll be touching towards the end of my presentation. This is my favorite slide. I think all of you will believe pandemic has only accelerated the change, accelerated the need for innovation and need for digitization. Research actually was longing for this kind of change every decade. Every decade, something or the other comes which push us as a fraternity to go beyond and do things differently. When I was talking to some of my colleagues, even some of the mentors in the industry, we have seen this kind of change even when the migration of traditional offline research was moving to the online research. Those kind of changes are not challenges. Those are the things which push up to the boundary to be with the time. And unfortunately or fortunately, this is the era of pandemic which has moved everything literally online. Whether it is even buying groceries to buying food to buying everything is online now. So pandemic has only accelerated the change, and we are just, you can say victims of the circumstances to move faster than we should. The real impact of COVID-19 has put us in front of technology. Now, whether we like it or not, we have to embrace it, and we have to embrace it very fast and very agile in our work culture day to day. What it means for market research, let's see that. I mean, this is no-brainer code. I think everybody knows it, and we have been living and breathing that data is the new oil. Data is essentially, more powerful than our resources, even investments and gold and so on and so forth. Then I re-looked back and I say, if data is the new oil, what is happening with market research is also about big data and data analytics. So is data analytics the new market research? Are we really, brushing up all the traditional methodologies and traditional way of doing research and so on, especially on data collection? So hold that point. We might need to revisit as a research community, is data analytics the new market research? So should we go and rejig our traditional procedure of market research and the steps we breed and we sell even to internal stakeholders? On that, I would consider myself also a traditional researcher, then moved into the culture of a company like AirAsia, which is, faster than FMCGs or faster than any other company to be evolving and also running ahead of time. Market research was taught to me, and I think the time I was learning research was all about, get to the quality of data, quality of respondent, process them, analyze them very well, and come up with the actionable report. In the last 6 months, I have realized is that data need not to be collected. There is enough data out there. We just, as a researcher, need to have this agile mindset, the fine-tuned understanding of different sets of data. This is the fundamental question to the new market research. How much time we invest, how much need it is to really go in depth to collect data. And this is not, once again, I'm talking, this is not only about the data available in your platforms, which is your web, your app, or your social media platform. Enough data is available if you have the right knowledge to extract that data. The first step of market research process about data collection, which takes up majority of our time, majority of our cost, may not exist in the future if fraternity like us really have the understanding of how to collect what kind of data, and data is available like never than before. So the question comes back to analytics, pretty much the new market research. Earlier, John was talking, and even some of the literature I was reading, this is really the new norm. Even, SMR is taking up, the white papers of SaaS, Adobe, SAP, Salesforce. Are these the new competitors? Are these the new industry we are looking into when it comes to market research? Even the new collaboration between SAP and Qualtrics, the customer experience platform, this is only the indication that a lot of operational, experiential, and behavior data needs to be talked together. Market research cannot look at one set of data, which we say, oh, this is the primary data, and this is the secondary data, and this is your sales data and operational data. No, data will not have any segmentation in the future. Under any project, all these sets of data need to be blended together to look into the thing in perspective of totality. And that's what, moving when I will show some of the case studies, I will show how different breeds of data are put together, and that really resolve the purpose of time saving, cost saving, and bringing a lot more efficiencies into any research projects we do. So, as I was mentioning earlier, particularly on the situations of COVID now, and it has adversely affected all the industries. But one industry, fortunately, which has not been affected. In fact, it is booming like never than before. Even in the countries like Indonesia, I mean, Indonesia is a pioneer to e-commerce. I wouldn't say that. Let's go back to my country, India. Even in the countries where, we were thinking, oh, online penetration, e-commerce, tier 2, tier 3 will take some time. No, it just takes one macro disruptor movement to bring the change never like before. And e-commerce is the new name for, I think, all the industries combined together. Literally everything is available in now the 5-inch screen. The world is there in 5-inch screen, which means more and more people, more and more traffic, and for us, more and more data to be analyzed. So technology, like my colleague was just mentioning earlier, yes, AI, technology, machine learning, cloud computing, these are all the new norms of market research. We have to blend the research techniques and technology with them. We have to create the models which are now on the back of all these automated procedures to save time and efforts, which are so pivotal in our industry. So once again, when I look back and see what's my research solution, how do I evaluate proposals, how do I award certain studies, I think the game changers will be now how much time and efforts can be saved on the back of technology, but without taking the human perspective and consumer centricity away. So there has to be this fine line of balancing between the two, which I think is very, very important for a fraternity like us. A bit of wordy slide here, but let me not read it for you. I mean, the crux of the slide is that when we sit inside the boardrooms and inside the, CMO rooms to showcase a proposal and the approach we believe, the new sales techniques, even for researchers, is now not to talk about data from market research or data from social media analytics or web traffic. The data is a data. It's all about analytics, which combines together the behavior and the transactional data together. And any solution which talks about different lenses of data together to make any action, whether it is marketing, commercial, new launches, or anything, that will cut the cord now. That I don't have to look at different sets of data, one comprehensive solution which is bringing everything together on the back of technology, once again saving the time and the cost. This is just one sign breaker that it's really about, time to innovate. There is no time to look back, and there is no really, any moment for us to say, oh, few more years, this is my roadmap and this is the way we do. One pandemic has rejigged every industry for that matter. And coming from airlines, I mean, no one else can realize it better than us. We were at the forefront of being affected. And the way we take up these challenges is that you have to go extra mile and just innovate your techniques, your way of doing business, even your product ideas. So innovation is the new, you can say, the name, but not innovate just because you have to innovate with a sense of purpose is very, very important. I'm going to talk 3 things which we follow at Eurasia, and I hope that can just translate into your individual businesses and the way we look at research in future. These are the things. Yes, I did say previously in my slides that there is enough amount of data being available. Data analytics and big data is humongous. Under no circumstances, we as, more like people-driven and knowledge-driven industry, which is research, can fight data. But we are the one who can put the perspective of the right insights over the data. Your data science team and your product team and your UX team may give you enough data sets to be analyzed, but only the power of research fraternity like us can bring the right business insights over the data. On technology, definitely technology help us as a tool, as an aid to do things a lot more faster, a lot more accurate, a lot more precise, but putting the right purpose of why are we using that technology and how it ties back to my business objective can only be governed by people like us and fraternity like us. So purpose on technology is the key. And this year is like the epitome of us realizing how much cost pressures one can bear. What is the real value? What is the real sense so that we are not seen as a cost center? Putting a real value, I think just now I was looking into marketing 4.0 chart, and one thing was there, it's a value-based marketing. That's absolutely true. Value is the key now. It's not about being low cost. It's not about being the fastest or being the most agile. It's also about the kind of value stamp you put into your services and your products. Research solutions must to complement with the data and technology, got to work hand in hand as one team. And when I just move in another 2 minutes to my case studies, I will be showing something how at Eurasia, every project has been looked into the cross-functional collaboration between insights, product, tech, data, and even teams like UX team. Insights definitely to fix into the business purposes. Now, no more as a consultant, come and give some theoretical papers around, this is the best strategy and implication and all. It really has to suit the business purpose for now. And my favorite part of the presentation in the end is about the role of the researchers and the human skills to the data. Some of the solutions which is really cutting the edge right now, and we are also investing and looking a lot more into it, is the marketplace kind of a research. Marketplace, I think, is a favorite term for every business now. Every business is coming online and trying to be the, those aggregator marketplace of everything. And we were just thinking in Eurasia, why not we also create a marketplace of research here, where you have enough of data to be analyzed. We can just feed our data into those marketplace platform, can segment, can cross-jam, can run our quick and dirty surveys out there, even look into, scores like employee metrics, employee satisfaction, and customer satisfaction. So the summary of this slide is that moving forward, a lot of research solution and platform will be governed by aggregator market research. So there will not be one solution to one problem. There will not be one project to address one kind of research objective. A marketplace kind of a research solution is a lot more comprehensive and cost saving, and will cut maybe your expertise with your client, because everything will just serve like your online library of your projects and also your learnings when you want to look back into them. some of the key buzzwords of today, and even at AirAsia we follow that. Just putting some of the perspective of how research will be looked at. Keep it simple, definitely automated, accessible, differentiated, affordable, and one thing which is my favorite, it's self-serviced. Everybody now want to be self-serviced because it saves a lot of effort, time, and everybody wants to be data literate in this part of the, you can say, economy. Nobody wants to be hand-holded now. So self-service is also the key when we look at research and solutions post-COVID or during the COVID world. Another 5 minutes of the presentation, which is role of the researchers. This cannot be ignored, no matter what we say. It's about AI, it's about technology, it's about the way to do things a lot more automated. But hang on. Our industry is still very, very knowledge and very, very people-driven industry. No matter how much technical solutions or technology-driven solutions can come. AirAsia, especially I can take the examples of my company because this is how we are doing. The importance of having right people on the job and the role of the researcher can never be replaced. Data does establishes great patterns, but we need those great minds who can pick up these patterns and put a business context to it. And I think this is the reason, especially in AirAsia, we love the job, what we are doing, because we do not build great and big teams. We build very lean teams with those people who understand the right business context and put them back to the you can say, the magnitude of data we are dealing with. It's really not about how great data you have. It's about how great people you have who can make sense out of data. So the business context to data still remains very, very relevant. Human research skills also bring not only perspective, but an emotional perspective to data sets. So even when at AirAsia, we look at our personas, our profiles, and about marketing strategy, one thing which is driven by our founder Tony himself is that about, how can we generate value which is not only functional but emotional perspective to data sets. And that can only happen when you have the right researchers on the job, because ultimately it ties back to how relevant and how emotional, how empathetic you as a brand is, which I think is very critical at this point of time. This is coming from my personal experience with AirAsia and some of the other clients that I have worked with throughout the journey. When I was in different fields of client-side engagement, I've always believed and seen a lot of senior people around different networks I've dealt with. We always engages with the right people on the job and not the right models. Models definitely has their advantage and they cut aside a different way of looking different things. But people on the job still remains very, very critical part of building any kind of engagement. So even if we invest in technology and technology-driven solutions, picking the right people, not the big size of the team, but the right people, training them right, investing them with the new norms of research, making them a lot more accountable. It's not about the years of experience. It's about the value you can bring to the project now, looking at this whole post-COVID research and most e-commerce driven data sets. So it's also about people on the job. And even when we are drafting our induction strategy, giving them on board, even some techniques or research or any courses in market research, I think it's very important not only to dump them to learn neuroscience, AI, technology, big data, digital marketing, no. Hang on and also build them the business context of the new norms of market research a person has to deliver. So the new market research in this scenario, moving now and forward, should be a lot more industry focused on people, value, and purpose to the clients. Adding partnerships and a lot more collaboration with the existing data sets, 360-degree data sets. Technology, always underlying how am I saving cost at every step so that I'm not seen as a cost center. Humanizing data will still remain very, very essential, which ties back to the people on the job. Some of the case studies which I was mentioning earlier is about, bringing external and internal data together. So if you see this slide, I wouldn't really read it, but it's also about every project in AirAsia is a culmination between market research, customer intelligence, data science, digital marketing. These projects come hand in hand with these sets of people work together. So the traditional market research of a research team going and bringing back the data and the insight and feeding it into the commercial team, these kind of things have to be a bit reject. For example, let me just take an example of this slide. Market research goes and studies some of the profiles of the people who are the most, you can say, super users of super app. AirAsia is in the line of becoming the next super app of the category, and we are just wanting to, ingest a lot of data around who the super app users and who they are, how they behave, and so on to penetrate into the next market of super apps. These profiles are studied by market research because we wanted a glimpse of external data. These profiles are then computed and fed into our technology-driven system, which is more on the feature store managed by our Center of Excellence and the led by customer intelligence team here. There is a fine line of gap between market research and customer intelligence team. Customer intelligence is that team who still blend with market research, but they are actually working a lot more on the big data and technology research solution. They will then clone these profiles to see inside your internal data how many such personas exist, because then they can magnify the amount of profiles you have created from the market to check the incidence on your existing data to showcase us, hey Disha, we have 30% of profiles or 25% of profiles who are matching your super app profiles. Then data science will segment these profiles to find out where they exist, what are their locations, how are they behaving, what are the most moment of the day they are most platform, because this is all coming from data science to further segment these profiles to feed into the direct marketing, digital marketing channel to reach them, to work on the channel strategies and a lot more of targeting strategies. They will then conduct their UATs and a lot more of internal, you can say, testing to find out how responsive and how reflective these profiles were, which actually started with market research team. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying, now no project will be solely owned and driven by market research. Market research has to break the norm to work together with customer intelligence, digital marketing, data science team, and a lot more of tech teams, even UX team within the company to realize every project is an integrated project right now. This is just an example. I hope I haven't bored you all, so I don't want to go too much into detail. This was also some of the second case study. I'm not sure how good I am with time, but end of the day, I just really want to showcase within AirAsia, one purpose of market research is also about collaboration. And this is the same thing we also expect from our partners, from our engagement vendors and agencies, that every solution is not only okay to showcase how great technology or how great models you have now using big AI and all those digital solutions. It's more about how can I cross-tab and integrate this with my external and internal ecosystem together. So time to take off research 4.0, which is very well blended with just the marketing presentation I was hearing from APU. The great piece of presentation said marketing 4.0. And I said, yes, my slides also finish into research 4.0. It's all about integration, working collaborated with technology and putting a lot more value on human skills and people on the job. Am I good with time?
Yes, Disha. I mean, we can wrap up soon.
If any questions, I think I'm done with my slides, but if there is any session, I can take them on board.
Sure, Disha. So we'll do the Q&A at the end. Thank you so much for the fantastic talk. I have personally been scribbling away on notes, and I have taken my key takeouts. So I can kind of sum it up as to, the ones that were close to my heart, and I'm going to keep that in mind. So firstly, that the onus is on market research fraternity to blend research techniques and technologies. And of course, to use data transformation to save time and effort, but to not lose sight of consumer centricity. So the insights still need to be very, very consumer centric. The second bit was that I took out and scribbled was to have more and more of self-serve options and offers. And the third one was, it was very heartening to hear about how you talked about that it's the brains and the people that are still very, very important. And clients increasingly are going to be looking at that rather than models, because AI is there are models galore, but that is what is going to be something that stands the test of time. So I'm sure there are lots and lots of other nuggets, and people have been quite enthusiastic with their questions, which we have captured in the chat box, and we shall come to it in the Q&A. So without further ado, I will then hand over to Kelvin to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Parul. Thank you, Parul.
Thank you, Disha. So our next speaker is Anwar Khan, a strategy and integration professional with a career spanning over 17 years, handling accounts such as McDonald's, Standard Chartered, Citibank, TNB, CIMB, Johnson & Johnson's, AirAsia, and many more. His expertise includes strategic planning to develop and execute brand communication objectives. He is currently the managing director of Initiative, a digital media agency that is a subsidiary of IPGE Media Brands. And today he'll be talking about the role of consumer insights in making marketing more effective for digitally hyper-connected consumers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Anwar Khan. Over to you, Anwar.
Thank you. Kelvin, I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I just wanted to check that.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Okay. Let me just share my slides. All right. So good morning, everyone. I just wanted to start with, I would say, a bit of a joke, actually.
Sorry, Anwar. I'm going to stop you there. You are sharing the wrong screen.
Can you see the slides?
Yes, but I'm seeing the different slide, the slide for speakers, the screen for speakers, for yourself.
Oh, okay. Just a sec. Let me again try. Sorry about that, everyone. Can you see it now?
Try sharing it again.
Okay, here we go. Put it here. Sorry, gentlemen, just a sec.
No worries, Anwar. It's time. Yes, can see the slide.
All right.
You can just show.
Yes. Is it good?
You need to change the screen. You go to the display settings on the top left.
Just a sec. Yeah. Is it good?
Yeah. Can you click again the slideshow?
Yeah. Is it?
Not seeing anything.
It's visible.
Could you click on the slideshow, and you need to make sure that you are showing us the presentation screen, not the note screen.
Yeah. I actually have two screens. Maybe that's the reason it's happening.
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
you need to click on the slide, okay, and go back to the screen before.
Yeah.
Click on the slideshow. I mean.
So I'll just do. Yeah. I've already clicked it a couple of times. Just a sec.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it there or not yet?
Not yet.
Can see, Anwar, can see your screen. Yeah.
Okay. Nonetheless, let me just do one thing. I'm just going to disconnect the second screen. maybe.
Yes, that probably would help.
Yeah.
Now,
Is it
can we do slideshow? Yes,
Okay.
perfect.
Perfect.
Perfect, Anwar.
sorry about that, gentlemen. I mean, we all are talking about tech, but we are like slaves of whatever new technology comes in. Without further ado, because I've taken a couple of minutes, but I'll start with let's say a bit about myself. I mean, Kelvin has already talked about, but I wanted to actually start with kind of a joke. So back in March, and when the CMCO happened and we were under lockdown and all that, I got a call from one of my friends, and the first question he asked was that, "So what's next?" And I was like, "What's next?" I mean, it would be we will be doing social distancing and wearing mask, and I would try and work from home, and so on and so forth. And he said, "No, I'm asking about what next are you going for as a course and all that, and maybe a new field and all that." And I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because you were used to be an investment banker. 2008 market crash happened, and then you went for other kind of degrees, and now you have so many degrees. So what's next? Because I'm looking up to it." What I actually gain from it is that there is a constant need of change that is there in the market today, and we all have to keep on evolving as it moves, and it doesn't change from the fact that how technology is today. And if you don't evolve, you definitely perish, is what I take from that. So my perspective about, in the sense of looking at what's happening today, I also feel little knowledge is very dangerous rather than having no knowledge, because then you try and make wrong decisions at most point of time. So it's very important to know what is happening in the industry. So everybody's talking about data, everybody's talking about big data, and talking about research, but it becomes very important in the sense, like all the speakers quoted, that you need to know what you need and how do you go about it. So I'm going to today talk about the role of consumer insights in making marketing more effective for digitally hyper-connected consumers. Now, this is, everyone knows that yes, consumer insight is what you base your, let's say, strategy, you base your comms strategy, or how you're reaching out to your end consumer. It becomes very pivotal in the sense, like, consumer insight is what you need to look at, decipher, and then try and go about it. So I was very happy in the sense, like when I saw a couple of slides from Dr. Samadhi in the beginning, and he did talk about, like, we were in like an industrial phase where you used to talk about one-way comms, in the sense, like, you would so like for David Ogilvy, he said that the more you tell, the more you sell, right? So at that point of time, it was more about how much more impressions can I get in the in the media space to reach out to my consumers. So it was all about, this is what I've got, this is my product, this is the message, this is what I'm selling, and consumer was at the receptive end. But then like the technological advancement happened, it reached to a stage, like in today's time, if we are actually buying or consuming a product and we are not satisfied with it, then what would we do is that the first thing that I will do is, oh, let me just post this on social media, I didn't have a good experience. Yeah. So now the consumer can talk to you in both ways, in that sense. So if they can talk to you, then it becomes very critical in the manner that you need to protect your brand image, and then talk to the consumer in that perspective, because it takes a lot of effort to actually build the imagery over a period of time, and it just takes maybe a matter of one bad week wherein everything gets tarnished. So so what we believe, in sense, because I represent a media agency which is called Initiative, and part of the IPG Media Group. So what we believe, when we actually strategize and we work for the clients, is that there is a shift from brand advertising, and it's all about now consumer culture. And I'll explain to you what that culture means, because it's like it becomes like an intelligent word that everybody talks about. Oh, so you guys deal in culture and not in what does this culture means? It's a heavy word, and so on and so forth. But it's very, very important for everyone to understand that what that means, understanding consumer culture. But don't just take my word for it. I'll just take you through a couple of gentlemen who are like prevalent in today's world. So the first one is Brian Solis. This is the guy who actually is a data analyst, and he works on technology, wherein new technologies which are coming into the market, which have what kind of effect a disruptive technology happens on a business. So he actually understands and does a lot of studies. I actually follow him a lot. So what he said was the future of advertising and brand starts with earning relevance. So you have to be relevant to your consumer. And then the second gentleman is Douglas Holt. He's actually a professor in Oxford and in Harvard. He came out with a white paper which was about culture. And I was pretty interested in reading about that because our company actually has coined something called as cultural velocity, which we believe in as a principle whenever we are strategizing and all that. But what he said was brands succeed when they break through culture. So he's talking about culture. The last person actually is Tim Brook, and what this person does is why in that order? Because this person actually takes care of an audience platform. Yeah. So everything when we talk about AI, we talk about big data and all that. This guy is actually living and breathing that thing right now. So in the sense to understand what are those consumers, or what are your relevant consumers, who are your consumers, who are your prospects, who can be converted easily, and all that he does. Uh, so what he says is pretty interesting. He says when you align your message with what people are already passionate about, you are able to make an emotional connect. So he's talking about cultural relevance. So if you see these marketeers today have actually who are actually living and breathing brand, big data, understanding consumer insight and all that, what they believe is in cultural relevance. What I was talking about, that we strongly believe in culture. So consumers today are evolving faster. All the esteemed, speakers today talked about it, like there is evolution and all that. So consumers are evolving and changing at much faster pace today. Yeah. So making it very difficult for the brands to be relevant. So the changes which are happening at this point of time are, if I were to just, if it comes to music, I can talk about Spotify and iTunes. If I'm talking about food, I can talk about Grab Food. If I want entertainment, I might go to Netflix. If I'm talking about shopping, I'm talking about Lazada. If I'm talking about, let's say, finance or tech, I'm talking about Google Home and all that. So the control itself has shifted in the hands of consumers, yeah, and they want convenience on demand, and you have to be relevant to them because the behaviors are changing and all that. So look at TikTok. It came in and tons of people actually went behind it. There was a different shift in terms of behavior, the way people were consuming it, and the brands then started latching onto it. It's a part of a comms plan as of now. So that's why you have to be constantly on the boil, and how do you actually try and associate the changing behavior and then try and relate your messaging to bring about that cultural relevance. Yeah. So the interesting part about this is we started with consumer insight. It still is the most important thing. But right now, if you were to reach to that consumer insight, the first thing which becomes very important is understanding what the culture is in our market today. Then how do I map that understanding or the insight with by creating my connecting it with my brand, and then taking it to the consumer who's my end consumer and telling them, yes, I am a relevant brand for you, and this is what I offer. So best would be to explain it with a case example, because otherwise I can go on with slides and slides. So I've just tried to comprise it so that you guys can understand as to what it is in terms of, I've just taken a live example. It's a dummy example, but it's reflection of a used case, which we did for one of the clients. And this is how it went about. So the client came out by asking us, the biggest challenge for me is that it's about sales. So most of the clients, and it all comes down to the bottom line. So it was, yes, I need to increase my sales. This is my annual target. This is the percentage of market share that I need to achieve in the end of the year. And Second perspective was, can you help me be the brand of first choice? And this was for a baby milk powder category. It was a mass brand. So what we did was that, first thing, the scenario is totally changed as of now. Gone are the days when we used to just reflect onto one consumer research or a syndicated research, take out, understand what the sample is, how people are behaving, their behavioral insights, their psychographics, bucketing them into cluster and understanding. It still stays, but lot many things have added it as we are moving towards a technological advanced state. So today, if we were to do this, it becomes very critical that yes, consumer research is there, but I would look at a web analytics understanding. I would look at social listening. What are people saying about my brand? If I'm just looking at a sample set, but gone are the days when we look at only the sample set, because people are actually right now talking about your brand on an online platform. Then there are a lot of other syndicated research like Euromonitor. These are all there. We can access and then understand what are competitors doing. More of a quant data, I would say. Apart from that, it becomes critical when you say if client can share their sales data. If not, then there are certain other avenues that we can tap into. Understanding location, what is working for the client, what is not working. Is Johor a key market for this brand? Or has it fizzled out and now Penang is the bigger market? So all that needs to be taken into account. Seasonality, in that sense, that whether more sales happen towards the end of the year or not. Media data to understand what are the competitors talking about today, like what are they proposing. Are they talking about new technological improved products? Are they talking about value? Are they talking about price? So all this information from media also is put into this big huge pile of data dump. Apart from that, there are a lot other avenues, in the sense, because martech has come up with a as a new field for the clients, and a lot of people have their own martech solutions. So our idea, what we believe in initiative, is what's the biggest jive between an ad tech, which is, let's say, an advertising technology, and how do you map it with the martech to understand and then make more understanding of what is happening in the market and where is the growth sitting. So initiative basically has about, this is a bit of selling for my company, but yeah, initiative, and I jive well with initiative because initiative has a huge 30 people team who ranges from data analytics to data science to web analytics, all being clubbed together. So whenever a big project is there, all of them have to be roped into one this thing to bring sense about this. And this was true of this case as well. So once they did the analysis, the first question was, because I'm not going to touch about media optimization or flighting or portfolio optimization of markets. So today I'm just talking about consumer insights. So I'm just going to touch on audiences. So the first thing that we asked was that client's main objective or last objective is to look at how can I increase sales. So we said, let's look at all the data, which I just talked about in the previous slide, and then let's make sense that what is the incremental growth that we can do by optimizing each of these levers. So what came out was that if we are able to identify an untapped audience opportunity, there would be a growth which you can see up to, let's say, 2.63%. Overall figure was a bit higher, but audience was contributing 2.63%. And it was the largest among the set. So once they identified that, then we said, okay, let's look at the consumers first and identify if there are clusters which are there. So what came about was there were 4 key clusters which came out, which you can see on the screen. One was thrifty moms, then FOMO moms, wiki moms, and ambitious moms. Thrifty moms were more in the sense like who had limited resources, and she was always on a lookout for deals and products which are giving you price at a value. So she was more price oriented, price conscious. FOMO moms was somebody like pretty casual in that sense, like always looking at your neighbor's kids, what they are getting and all that, and fear of missing out, whether I'm providing my child with the enough nutrients for his or her growth or not. And Vicky Mom was someone like who's always going on the net and reading about a lot of stuff and all that. And every point of time, she's always confused in that sense. Like, oh, is this all right, or is this, should I buy for my kid? Is this product better for my kid or not? So she's somebody who's always on this on the go. Ambitious mom was, I would say, an Atas Kyasu mom who would be looking at, like, she needs to portray herself. But if you look at, we actually discounted ambitious mom and thrifty moms. There was a reason at this stage. First was thrifty mom's penetration was 30% when it came to this brand, and which was way higher compared to any other competitors who were there. So competitors were pretty less, like 18%, 12%, and they were the brand leaders with 30% already there. Second was ambitious mom was someone who was a very high income group. So the idea was that if she's of a high income group and the penetration right now is 0% for the brand, and we are a mass brand, then there's no point actually talking to this consumer. So both these were removed in the sense that we had limited amount of budget for the client, and it has to be used and in a more efficient manner to actually increase the growth from where the client is. We looked at FOMO and Wiki Moms and then realized that compared to others, the penetration of the brand is pretty low, the brand which we were working on. So it was like 8% and 7%. So it becomes very critical in the sense that they are buying my product. But compared to other competitors, my penetration of the brand is low, which means that there's something that we are not doing right in talking to these two moms. So thanks to our research and data team, what came out was that if we are able to add 59,000 more customers coming from whether it's a FOMO mom or whether it's a Wiki mom, we will be able to hit that 2.63% mark, which was the growth that we were looking at. Yeah. So now you can see how the story is trying to unfold. Yeah. So we then spoke to these moms, which was FOMO and Wiki. We didn't look at any other. There was a focus interview. We actually looked at that because we know at that stage that uh, what do we need to do? So whom do we need to talk to? So we did the analysis, and what came out was that these are two clusters that we need to talk to. Yeah. But how do you talk to them is the second question which comes in, wherein all your making your brand relevant when it comes to consumer insight. So what is that insight? What is, how can I make my brand relevant to them? So pretty interesting thing which came out was, which I will take you in the next slide. But at this stage, all this data is again put into, because we have a lot of syndicated tools, internal tools. They actually churn the data, and then we try and make sense of it. Like, what is the key insight that is coming out? So the key insight that actually came out from this was that I'll just read this. By nature, a mom will never stop worrying. However, in this new era, where past parenting methods may no longer be applicable and nearly everything she knows is evolving, mom worries even more. Yeah. But we actually dig deeper when we were doing focus interviews and all that. Most of the mothers, when we were asking them, so what were your challenges and all that, she was like, no, I'm the best mom for my kid. And we were like, yes, which is there. I mean, obviously I wouldn't say that you're not a best mom for your kid, but we wanted to still understand. So we changed our questions and kept on probing, and then we asked these two clusters, which was FOMO and Wiki Moms. We said that, what is your advice to the newly or first time mothers in the market? Very key insight which came out from that was, and it led to all other insights which coming out was, in the market today, when you are first time mothers, there's a lot of stress, lot of anxiety which comes over, and it comes over because of a lot of expectations on mothers in Malaysia. So specifically what happens is, if I am seen in the market, that was the insight, if I'm seen in the market of asking support or asking things about how to manage my child, then I'm perceived as not being the good mother. So I'm not the best mother that there is. So that actually holds them back. So if the child wakes up, so one mother was like saying that if there was points that she broke down because the child kept on crying at the middle of the night and all that, and she didn't knew what to do. I mean, what do I do? How do I go about it? Because if I start asking them, people will conceive me as a not being the best mother. I should know everything about my child, how to take care of it. So we said, yeah, that's a pretty interesting, a pretty powerful insight which is there. And then we actually grouped them and then checked what is their group behavior as well. So you see on the right hand side that there's a beautiful chart which says benevolence and belongingness. So what this group said as a key insight was that they believe in brands which actually stand up for a cause. That was number one. Second was they believe to be part of a community also. They always love to being part of the community. So we knew that if the mothers at this point of time are seeking a confider and an assurer, what's the best way to actually now make my brand relevant to them is that why not make a platform where mothers can talk easily without having a preconceived perception of being branded as not being the good mother. So basis that we actually build in the sense like it was I won't get into that detail because that's not part of this, but this was the key consumer insight which came out. And post this, the entire comm strategy, the entire technology that we put in, because we developed a few tech platform as well, was put in. Yeah, so that's the power of consumer insight. This is just to show you what's the result. Yeah, we did not hit 2.63% growth, but I think reaching 92% of what the target was still pretty good to look at. But just to tell you how do we go about is that we also are pretty heavy in terms of research. So what we did was we do modelings for the clients for them to say, this is the predictive analysis of your past data. If I look at that and then say what the future can be, and if I correct certain levers, what is the expected growth that can be there. So in this case, we then mapped the predictive model and then map the whatever the results were to see how close we were in that sense. And then we give clients a lot of insights on that sense, at the same time giving them which medias were working for you and which media was not working for you. In this case, it was pretty interesting because I was expecting that it should be more I would say like digital skewed, like digital should be the medium to actually drive growth for the client. But I was proven wrong in the end, because even after doing all that analysis and putting the tech platform and all that, it came down to that FTA was, which is the free TV in the market, was the growth driver. But digging deeper, what came out was growth was actually driven by people who were mobile first and technology first. But a big chunk of people actually buy the product which is in Kampong and all that because of it's a mass brand, which are more traditional driven. So overall, it was like that. I hope I'm under time now. So I'll just try and see. So yeah, that's my last slide. So I'm happy to take any questions if they are. Over to you, Kelvin.
Okay, thank you very much, Anwar, for the insightful talks on using data from multiple sources to give a holistic view and understanding of the market and consumers. So by combining passive data from the digital footprints, such as sales, media, consumption, and social listening data, to understand the what and when, with active data from surveys to understand the who and whys, we are able to gain deep level of insights to identify our target market more accurately. So I would like to introduce our next speaker, Owen Lee, and he's a commercial marketing specialist with 30 years of track record in agency, client, and media owner experience spanning various countries and industry sectors. His notable roles are Chief Marketing Officer of South African Tourism, and he has also launched and managed the A1GP World Cup of the motorsports teams and events in Southeast Asia. And he's currently the Commercial Director of Badminton World Federation. And his role is to manage all agency relationship, securing TV distribution and sponsorship income to the Federation, and manage their marketing and communication channel. So without further ado, please welcome Owen Lee. Over to you, Owen.
Thank you very much, Kelvin. Good morning, everybody. Let me share my screen quickly. and hopefully not get it wrong. Just give me a sec. Okay, can you see that? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Super. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Disha and Anwar. Those were two very interesting presentations in the world in which we live. Just a bit of context as to what the Badminton World Federation is, in case you don't know, is we are the global federation responsible for the sport. We are headquartered in Malaysia and have been for 12 years. I've been with the BWF for 6 years. And in addition to the responsibilities that Kelvin just described, I also look after the marketing and communications department, which is why this is relevant today. Personally, I've been in Malaysia for 15 years. I consider it home. I am originally South African, having grown up in Europe. Please forgive me that the first couple of slides are a little bit wordy, but they do give some context to where we will go after that. The pandemic. This is a once in 100-year, if you like, or more occurrence that has really driven incredibly hard the digital transformation. I think in the last 9 months, we've all become way more adept than perhaps we were before in terms of how we use digital products, how we communicate with each other, such as a presentation like this, and indeed how we need to view the world of our business going forward. So I'm not necessarily going to read all of the words on this slide. I'll let you read for yourselves. But the transformation that this will bring about in terms of how we work in sport is inevitable, and especially in relation to how we will view the importance of data if it was not important already. So each of the slides that will follow after this one really will focus, I will try to focus on the first 2 points here, is that despite what many sports think, including the BWF, we do not have the type of data that our agency colleagues and our IT colleagues tell us we have. And I'll come on to what I will present is, if you like, a view into the world of my world of data, but the importance of the acquisition of further data to do two things. Importantly, how do we communicate with our fans across our digital platforms? And I'll deal with a slide specifically on that in a short while. But secondly, and more importantly, perhaps, in a commercial world, is to ensure how we can drive the value of our sport commercially to our sponsors and our broadcasters, because that fundamentally is my role. My role is to generate income to the business in order for my colleagues to grow the business, if you like, in terms of our events structure and our grassroots development work. So an insight into my world, if you like. We reach through television 672 million households. So arguably, if you did a bit of maths, perhaps close to 2 billion people, which is not insignificant. We are covered across 78 different broadcast territories. And we, last year, had close to 30,000 hours of television broadcast, presenting opportunities to our commercial partners in terms of brand visibility. Clearly this year, that number will be significantly less. We've only had one event since March, and in fact, that was our last event in October in Denmark for obvious reasons of COVID. At the end of 2018, we did a Nielsen study that suggested to us that we have 735 million fans worldwide, which to many will be a surprising number, but it will not be surprising that 600 odd of those are in Asia. A little bit of history. We were founded as the International Badminton Federation originally in 1934. with 9 member associations. We now have 196, which is pretty much global representation. We made our Olympic debut in '92, and we would this year have made a debut in the Paralympics, which of course now is carried over into 2021, assuming the world opens up a little bit to us. As I said, close to 30,000 hours of broadcast time in 2019, delivering to our sponsors $630 million worth of media value, which is significant in terms of the ROI that we deliver to people who are looking for the audience that we deliver, especially in Asia. A little bit more on the fans. And this is where I'll go a little bit deeper about trying to understand our fans better for the benefit of the universe that I've described. 735 million fans worldwide. We have close to 340 million of those fans actively playing badminton, and that by that we mean once a week at least. We have globally a very interesting, almost 50-50 gender split, which is unlike most sports where the gender split is more skewed towards a male fan base. The only part of the world where this is different, where it's sort of 70-30, is in the Middle East, where unfortunately a lot of women are not allowed to take part in certain activities. The age range that we focus on in terms of, or at least making up the largest part of the age range for us is the 24 to 39-year-old group. And 93% still consume live sport through television, despite the fact that, as Disha so eloquently described earlier, our incredible reliance now on consuming content through smaller screens. But the reality is that most sport is still consumed through live television broadcasting and supplemented by online streaming. Now, the reason I wanted to show this slide is that this is, give or take a few other slides that I didn't want to present to you from Nielsen. This is pretty much all we know about our fans. What we do know is that badminton fans tend to be uber fans. I would describe them as incredibly passionate, incredibly knowledgeable in terms of the sport and who they follow and so on. Of the 735 million, about 250 million are in China, which you would also expect to hear. We would this year have launched a global badminton app. We've had to delay that with the absence of live content because, of course, a sports app should be driven by live content. And the reason I mention that is the app is going to be the start of our road to understanding more the habits of our consumers, to use that sort of terminology, our fans. We will collect in quite an overt way data about our fans through some of the functionality of the app. I'm hoping to convert 10% of those 735 million fans to be users of the app. So with a little bit of maths, that's just over 70 million people. It's an ambitious target, but the data that we will be able to collect from 70 million people will be significant, not just for us, but also in terms of how we work with the Olympic movement and other Olympic sports, mainly based out of Switzerland and Europe. So the app is incredibly important to us. It will deliver content not only to fans, but also to athletes through a different gateway in terms of communicating with them, technical officials, and indeed our commercial partners. Broadcast territories, pretty global. Again, the background to this for us is the ability to talk globally to an audience, and in return, as we do various different research studies, collect data on our television consuming audience in the countries that you see here. Digital. This is incredibly important. We have, despite no events in the last 8.5 months, bar one, we have grown all of our digital platforms, both in the Western world as well as in China. Our communications team, driven by an Australian guy called Lloyd Green, huge cricket fan, often to be seen at the Sticky Wicket in Damansara. He and a team of 4 people have worked tirelessly to repurpose, recreate, and re-deliver content to our content-hungry audiences. And we've managed to grow our social media consumption base, if you like, subscribers and fans and followers and so on, quite significantly. I think the important number here in terms of how we interact and engage and begin to understand the types of content that our fans are looking for is the 432,000 followers on Instagram. We only launched that in August last year. That is a significant number of followers to put into a sports Instagram platform, and it compares incredibly well. We often compare ourselves to clearly tennis, but other international federations, so FIFA, ITF, ITTF, which is table tennis, and so on. And we do track incredibly well in the top 3 to 5 in terms of performance against other bigger sports, arguably, especially football. But these numbers are interesting, and these become a future source of data for us. And every interaction that we have on any of these platforms teaches us what content is useful or liked or preferred, and what isn't. You know, I'm sure you know, many of you in the presentation today will know that there are certain optimal lengths of video content depending on whether you're in YouTube or Facebook, for example. YouTube, I think that you can see the consumption, the average view here is 8.25 minutes per subscriber per session, of which 6 minutes could be one video. On Facebook, it's much shorter, and clearly on Instagram, it's much shorter as well. So we tailor all of our content to satisfy the audiences on our social media platforms. We have a fairly global spread of events. I'm sure if you are followers of the sport, you will be familiar now with the HSBC BWF World Tour, which normally has 20 odd events in it. They're listed there, the main ones, down to the Super 500 level. There is a Super 300 level below that. And again, in a normal year, our event structure and what we do live with our fans at all of these events allows us to understand better our fan base in terms of what they like, what they don't like, and indeed get some insights through those for our sponsors, especially. You know, the likes of HSBC are highly evolved organizations in terms of how they sell their product to their consumers. And the reason that they're with us is that their focus for badminton is Asia and specifically China. And the same is the case for Total Oil, which is the title sponsorship of our major championships in the form of the Sudirman Cup, the Thomas and Uber Cup, and the World Championships as well. Our partnership structure is, as you see it here, our major championships, as I just listed, the title sponsor is Total, and for the BWF World Tour and the finals, the title sponsor is HSBC. It has not been an easy year for us. I've spent the last 6 months working out how much money we need to give back to our partners because of the lack of events, which has not been particularly pleasant. But our sport will survive. We are very strong, and that is illustrated by the fan base. So I think I'm going to get a prize for doing the shortest presentation today. Thank you very much. I hope that's given you an insight not just to how we think about data and the importance of data in terms of not only delivering to our fans, but also clearly delivering to how we build the commercial platform of our sport going forward. Thank you very much.